Hey guys, Grant here. I want to tell you all about my friends at Black Bear Inn and Suites of Gatlinburg who are making it possible to bring this episode to you. As you guys know, I grew up in East Tennessee, and there are two things that all East Tennesseans have in common. We all love the Vols, and we all love the Smoky Mountains. Since I've moved to Nashville, I've been unable to get my Smoky Mountain fix in, but thankfully, our friends at Black Bear Inn and Suites of downtown Gatlinburg have me covered. They are conveniently located at 1100 Parkway and are within walking distance of all the major attractions and best food that downtown Gatlinburg has to offer. To book your Smoky Mountain getaway today, visit blackbeargatlinburg.com or call 865 436 5656 or toll free at 1 800 933 0777. Welcome into this episode of the Volleyn Out Podcast. I am Grant Williams, and joining me just as he does each and every time here on the program, Jordan Mountcastle, the
Buddy.
resident Bama hater.
Oh, I'm tuned up tonight. Tuned.
Oh, dude. I mean, how can you not be after what all happened yesterday at Coleman Coliseum, in a state we just don't give a damn about?
That's right. That's right. Don't give a damn about that whole state. We're state champs. Alabama state champs.
Man, we got the sweep, all three. I mean, 2 against Bama, 1 against Auburn. I mean, what a week for the Vols, and it only gets bigger from here.
It does, man. I wish I had my broom with me.
Man, I should go pull one out of the closet real quick. Let me just pause this recording. No, not really. Not doing that today. Guys, we have got a lot to dive into. Going to recap this massive win where the Vols rolled the tide, talk a little bit of baseballs, and we're going to have our good buddy Andrew Lyon on from Locked On Gamecocks to preview what is the biggest matchup of the entire year in the Southeastern Conference on Wednesday. So without further ado, man, let's jump right on into what the Vols did against the Tide last night in Coleman Coliseum. Vols get the win, 81-74. Vols defense just appeared to be way too much for Bama down the stretch. Wouldn't you say that's the case?
Oh, man. Those last, I want to say about 3 minutes or so, man, Bama was forcing everything, and they didn't have to. Like, it was close enough to where they could have gotten their offense and got a good shot, but it seemed like they wanted to force the issue, and I think that kind of came back to bite them just a little bit.
Well, it's not even just that, man. I mean, that's how Alabama plays ball. They are very much move the ball around very quickly, get the open shot. If you have an open shot, they don't care who's got it. You take it.
Right.
And at some point, man, you live and die by the three. And good Lord, did they die by it last night, late into that game.
They did.
Biggest thing for me in this, man, was Dalton had an off night, but everybody else on the entire team showed up when you needed them to.
Man, that was probably my favorite part about the game. I mean, Dalton, he didn't play his best, but hats off to Alabama. They really did a good job playing him the way they did. Like he was locked down for the most part. He got loose there a little bit at the end, but man, they kept him under 20, I think.
Yeah, they did. They sure did, man. And here's one thing on that too. So Dalton got into foul trouble very quickly. And I think Alabama gave the blueprint for everybody else if they want to beat Tennessee in March. Get Dalton in foul trouble, get him on the bench, and make Santiago Vescovi, Josiah Jordan-James, and Zakai Ziegler beat you. Well, it worked one time. Is it going to continue to work? That's something we need to talk about later in the show on this one today. But man, I mean, what a great night. And don't you just love this picture on our computer screens right now of Zakai?
I do, man. That's awfully delightful in the land of Dixie.
Man, it sure is, especially on a Tennessee Saturday night. I mean, just so much fun, and we're going to have a lot of fun with the Bammers on this one today. Also,
yes,
one note of interest, Rick Barnes now has 198 wins at Tennessee as the head man in charge. If you can get a win on Wednesday night against the Gamecocks, 200 could come on Saturday against Kentucky. So just keep that on our radar. It may be a huge talking point for us when we jump back in the studio on Thursday. Diving into the full team stats from this one right here. Defense was about the only thing that went on in this game. I mean, 36% for the Vols shooting from the floor, 38% for the Tide. Tennessee shot 66 times in this game and only made 24.
Dude, that was the best game of the year for both teams, I think, defensively.
Well, I think so. Tennessee's had a couple of other better matchups. They held Alabama to less points whenever they came to the Food City Center back in January. That was by far the best defensive performance Alabama has had under Nate Oates.
Let's say this: best defensive performance Tennessee's had on the road this year.
I wouldn't disagree with that. By far, best defensive performance on the road for the Volunteers against a ranked team. Because I guess we
Yeah,
could say Arkansas in on that, but we're not going to do that today. We don't want to give the Hogs anything other than frying some bacon right there. But man, I mean, just kind of diving into all this 3-point percentage: Tennessee 30%, Alabama 24.3%. Free throws 72.4 for Tennessee, 76 for Bama. HYFT, man, it's not good enough at 72%. You need to see the team right around that 80% range.
yeah, buddy. I'll tell you what though, they hit the ones that mattered down the stretch. Zakai was huge
Oh my
at the
God.
line at the end of that game.
Is there anybody that you trust more to take the shots at the end of the game that are from the line other than Zakai?
The only other one that you could make an argument for over time, as far as career wise goes, would be Santi. This year, no.
Yeah, this year you can't make that argument for him, but you can make it for Zakai. I mean, like, what was it at one point? Santi had only missed like 4 in his entire career in crunch time, and that was like last season
Yeah, I
after the
mean
guy played
it's
4 years. I mean, it's crazy how reliable he was for so long.
right. Yeah, it's. I mean, he was money, and he still is to an extent. It's hard to get in a rhythm whenever you're, just kind of getting it here and there. But either way, man, he was big last night too. That was just a total team effort.
It really was. Moving on to other stats in this game, Alabama won the rebounding battle 44-42. Not really much right there. Stat that pops out to me right here: 16 assists for Alabama, 14 for Tennessee. The third game all year Tennessee has won and lost the assist battle.
The second in a row too.
Yeah, I mean that you're finding other ways to win, so I'm not going to pick that apart too much, but man,
Right.
that right there, it's a little bit concerning because you've been so reliable on that all year long.
Well, I want to say this though. How many? I want to know, just out of curiosity, on the year in those games like that, which how many buckets have been Dalton's and that we've assisted on? Because I think that's a big part of that last night. If Dalton's on last night, we win that.
And it's not even close. If Dalton
Yeah,
has a Dalton, if it's a vintage Dalton Connect, you have
yeah,
nothing to worry about in this game. I mean, and I think that you would have more assists, obviously, if Dalton had it going. Steals, Tennessee won that battle 7-4. Blocks 4-2 in the favor of the good guys. Total turnovers favor the good guys once again, 6-12. That right there is the stat of the entire game for me on this one.
yeah. That during the game last night, I thought to myself, I was like, Tennessee's really not turned the ball over that much. But then it seemed like when we did, it was at the. It's never. There's never a good time for a turnover.
No,
Okay.
hell no.
But it seemed like when we did, it was magnified because it was at a certain point in the game where we're like, we can't have that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it just seemed like it was going all wrong for the Volunteers at one point in this game. And then they were able to get it turned around by starting to get those turnovers going in our favor versus the favor of the Tide.
Man.
Points in the paint, Tennessee lost that battle as well, 28-22. I think a lot of that has to do with the big guys getting in foul trouble. So there's really not a lot to talk about right there. And then total fouls called, 24 on the Tide, 22 on the Vols.
Well, that tells you it was kind of called even,
It was. It was a much better call game than what we had at the Food City Center on Wednesday against the Auburn Tigers. But diving into what the guys did who played for the Volunteers on Saturday night. Jonas Adu in 23 minutes that was drastically impacted by foul trouble.
Yes.
3 of 6 from the floor, 6 of 9 from the line. Good job right there, Jonas. 6 of 9 from the line for a big guy. I'm going to take that any day. 7 boards, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 fouls, 12 points.
Yeah. Man, he played good when he was on the court. You know what I'm saying? Just couldn't that early foul trouble, man. How much did he play in the first half? It wasn't. It could have been
4
but 4 or 5
minutes.
minutes. Yeah, that's what I was going to
4
say.
minutes exactly. As
That's
it's
crazy.
that really killed Tennessee in the first half, honestly. I think that's why Tennessee was, you know, Tennessee was down going into halftime. And also Tobe Awaka, he only got to play 8 minutes in the whole game. He was a non-factor in this one, which is kind of surprising for what he's done over the past, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, he's still done what he needed to do, though. It was everybody on this team contributed some ways, shape, form, or fashion last night.
Yeah, they really did. Dalton Connect, 28 minutes, 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. Oh, God, that's ugly. Man. That is ugly.
Man, though, the thing about it is a lot of those shots, though, dude, they were just they were shots that were going down. They just rimmed out. Yeah, it was just one of those nights,
He put too much spin on them all. 2 of 4 from the line, 5 boards in total, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls, 13 points. Is what it is. Dalton, you'll be back. I ain't worried about you. 38 minutes for Zakai in this one. That number is too much. I keep on saying it. Rick Barnes, if you're watching me say this right now, cut his damn minutes. We don't need him to get injured.
Cut my man some time.
Yeah. Let him sit on the bench some. You play him this many minutes when you get to the tournament.
Well, now I'm going to argue this, though. Last night, that many minutes was warranted. He needed that. We needed him. Yeah.
But that's a concern that you have no other guard who can step up when they're needed. It's just a concern because, like, we all thought Freddie Dillion was going to be that guy. Well, he didn't even get in the game. So it kind of is a catch-20.
We haven't seen Freddie for a hot minute, have we?
No, he got in against Texas A&M because he had that block at the end of the game, blocked it over to Cam. Cam went down and dunked it. I don't think he's been in the game since then.
Wild.
Yeah, and the kid, he's played great. But talking on Zakai, 5 of 18 from the floor, 4 of 14 from 3, 4 of 6 from the line, 2 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover, 1 foul, 18 points. Only thing I can critique Zakai on is you shot too many threes. There's no reason why Zakai should be shooting 14 threes and leading the Vols on that.
He was 4 for 5 from inside the arc. Let's spin it. Let's spin it that way.
Yeah. That is one way to look at it. Hell, he's 5 of 18, take off 4 of those. Yeah.
Excuse me, 1 for 1 inside the arc.
Yeah, just kind of crazy that I don't even understand, man. I don't even understand why he shot that many.
Though, man, it was one of those things, like between him and Dalton, that's 21 3-pointers of our 40. That's over half of them. Surely they can hit better. They can shoot better. We know they can shoot better than that.
They can, and they will. Moving on to the next guys that we have nicknamed the Milk Carton Kids. Santiago Vescovi, who is now the player coach on the team, drawing up plays in timeouts. 26 minutes, 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 3 boards, 2 assists, 3 steals, 4 fouls, 8 points. Santi, if you can do this night in and night out, there's a ring coming your way.
Yeah, I'm not even complaining about that last night from him, dude. It said a lot to me too. And honestly, it kind of makes me feel bad for as bad as we've rode him this year. Like, he's a good teammate. He is a phenomenal teammate. Like last night in the huddle, coaching them up, saying, "Hey, this is what we need to do." And sure enough, man, that play they drew up, they went out and hit. And actually, Josiah pops a 3 right afterwards, and it was either Josiah or Meshack.
I think it was Shaq on that one. Who's your guy right there?
On the team.
I'm about to slam the lid shut on my laptop. Man, player coach right there. And what that shows me too is Rick Barnes is saying, "Hey, Santi, you have been here for 5 years. You've played great ball. I trust you." And he got him a play, and it worked. I wonder what he had to say to coach to be able to get that one drawn up. Just something I'm thinking about right there.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. But, I want to say this too, though, dude. At one point last night, they took 3 trips down the court. Santi had 3 straight steals. 3 straight steals.
Yeah, man. He's gonna break that all-time record.
Put that man in a ski mask, son.
I was gonna say, get him a ski mask and a Draco or something like that, and he's just out there robbing people blind, man. I don't know what's going on with the guy, but
just straight picking pockets, son.
Love it. One of my favorite Santiago Vescovi games of the entire year. Josiah Jordan James, hell of a night for Josiah. Probably the most important player on the team from this game. 33 minutes, 3 of 7 from the floor, 3 of 6 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line, 13 boards, 3
Woo!
assists, 1 steal, 4 fouls, 11 points. Josiah, I'm going to say the same thing I said to you that I just said to Santi. Replicate this night in and night out, and you got a ring coming your way, bud. I mean, hell of a game for the fifth-year senior from Charleston, South
Absolutely.
Carolina.
And you know, the thing about it is, man, is he don't even have to have a double-double every night. If he can give us 10 and 7,
Yeah,
that's enough.
last night he had to give you that double-double. There was no ifs, ands, or buts on that. Without that,
Absolutely.
you don't have anything.
The thing here's one thing I want to say too about last night. Those two, I know we give them hell all the time, call them the milk carton kids, whatever. We don't win that game last night without the veteran set of mind that those two have.
Well, it was your old guys that ran the show for you. I mean, you have Zakai Ziegler, Santiago Vescovi, and Josiah Jordan James, who have played the most minutes out of anybody on this team over their career, and Jemiah Mashack. So toss in the other guy right there that carried you this way. What two guys I want to talk about on the bench, because I already touched on Tobe, only 8 minutes and 2 points, non-factor because he picked up those 2 fouls early, and we realized very quickly this is not a Tobe game at all. Jordan Gainey, 14 minutes, 2 of 9 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3, 5 of 6 from the line, 9 points. I feel like Jordan Gainey was a lot better than what that stat line was, though, because he did a lot of things that helped you out in the first half.
He played phenomenal defense, brilliant defense, I'd almost say, in the first half.
Yeah, and then all you got to see him do at the second half was,
he's got
dancing around with his threes.
He's got some moves, son.
Man, you put that kid on America's Got Talent, or what was that show? It was like
Dancing
the
with the
American Idol
Stars.
version. No, it was like the American Idol version of like dancing. It was So You Think You Can Dance.
Yeah.
Put Jordan Gainey on that show, dude. Oh my God, I'm going back 20 years now at this
just
point.
The looks, some of the looks he was doing too while he was doing the dances. I'm just like, yeah, it's like, come on, man.
Dude, I loved it. I loved seeing it. Me and Dad, I watched it with Dad last night, and we were like, what the hell is he doing? Just keep it rolling. Just keep it rolling. Give that bench hype right there. And then Jemiah Mashack, man, best defensive performance, not even just best defensive performance, best performance of his entire career was last night, locking down Mark Sears. 27 minutes, 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3. So he got 100% for you right there, Jordan. I know you'd be happy on that. 6 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover, 3 fouls, which honestly he probably had really about 20 if you look at it. And then 8 points, man. Hell of a night for the junior from Fontana, California.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, every time that boy was netting a three, you know when he nets one, it don't matter what the score is, where we're at. I'm gonna text you and be like, best 3-point shooter on the team.
And you know what I did? Tossed my phone on moon mode when I saw it the first time. I was like, I ain't listening to this shit today.
Oh, whatever. You were like, I was just about to tell you the same thing. No, it was, but I'll argue that. Okay, let's say this. Maybe not the best 3-point shooter on the team, most clutch.
I'm going to say this. He probably is the best 3-point shooter on the team if you look at per attempt with a minimum of like 10.
I'm
going to do some research on that. I will drop that next show. I want to see. I want to see how I can make you smile on that right there, because
I stand on business, Grant.
You stand on business? Well, you better remind me on that. Once again, Tennessee shot 36.4% from the field, 30% from 3, 72.4% from the line. Moving on to the Alabama Crimson Tide, roll tears roll. 39 minutes for Mark Sears, 6 of 13 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 2 boards, 6 assists, 1 steal, 4 turnovers, 22 points. That's all because of Shaq right there on those 4 turnovers. 6 to 4 on his assist and turnovers.
Man, I'll tell you what, dude. Shaq, when he locks in on defense, buddy, he's up in your kitchen. Like, you might as well. It don't matter if you're going to the bathroom, son. He's following you.
Well, they always talk about how Dalton and Shaq go one-on-one at the end of every practice. How much do you want to bet Dalton Knecht going against the best defender in the entire country on the perimeter has helped change his game?
Oh, no doubt, man. But on the flip side of that, who do you think this benefits more, Shaq or Dalton?
Dalton, because we've seen the results on the floor where we've not got to see as much as Shaq. I will say this, though. Next year, good Lord, Shaq is going to be on a tear.
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
he
he's
can,
going to have to be.
yeah, absolutely. And now I'll say this: it's more of a joke to me about best 3-point shooter on the team. I just love getting you riled up.
I know
But
you do.
let's see what happens next year, dude. If he can polish up that offensive game just a little bit, he's gonna be nasty.
If he could get you
Nasty.
15 points a game, he's the national player of the year because of what he can do on defense. I mean, it's
15, 5, and
unbelievable what the
5.
kid can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you can get that, he's a national player of the year, which I guess is easier said than done. Another guy I want to talk about in this game for the Alabama Crimson Tide, Aaron Estrada in 35 minutes, 6 of 16 from the floor, 2 of 8 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line, 8 boards, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, 16 points. He was hot at one point in this game.
Oh, buddy, there was a few minutes where I thought there, like maybe I want to say it was like the 10, but especially in the second half, that 10 from the 10-minute mark down to about the 5-minute mark. I thought he was about to help them open up a lead that we weren't going to be able to overcome
Well, I thought that
because,
too. Well, we were saying that to each other over text. I was like, man, you give Bama a second, they get hot. Yikes.
yeah, yeah, like that. We were right there, man. But dude, I'll tell you what, credit to Tennessee's basketball team, man, because if they had as little faith, because scrolling through Facebook last night,
Oh, God.
Twitter, whatever, if they had as little faith in themselves as a lot of Vol fans did last night, they might as well have packed it up in the second half.
Oh, yeah. Well, instead, they're winning on a Tennessee Saturday night south of the border, man. Lots of fun right there. One other guy I do want to touch on real quick in this game for Alabama as well, Nick Pringle, man. I don't know why they didn't give the kid the ball more. 4 of 4 from the field, 5 of 7 from the line, 13 points. He got 9 boards for you as well. Go
Dude,
inside and work with him a little bit, man. I mean, I'm glad they didn't. But the whole time I was thinking, go to Pringle, go to Pringle, go to Pringle, man.
yeah, because with Adu and Tobey in foul trouble, Tobey didn't see enough time for it to matter, but Adu sat long enough for them to take full advantage of that. That's one thing about Nate Oates. I was surprised he didn't try to take more of an advantage of that because he
Yeah.
had every opportunity to.
I don't know how he didn't, man. I mean, that just seems like a Nate Oates thing to do on this. So moving on to the leaders for the game. Zakai Ziegler led the Volunteers with 18 points. Marcus Sears led the Tide with 22. Josiah Jordan James led Tennessee in rebounds with 13. Nick Pringle led the Tide with 9. Zakai Ziegler led the Volunteers with assists with 4. And Sears led the Tide with 6. And
Four turnovers?
Four turnovers for
4.
Sears, man. It's like he's the department store, man. He going out of business. He's going out of business, man. That's all I'm
He's
saying.
selling, liquidating.
It is, man. Well, hey, let's hear from.
Just how pleasing was it to win with everybody contributing the way they did tonight?
Well, we've got a lot of these guys that have been with us for a long time, and they've been in games like this. And obviously, we've got the utmost respect for Nate and his staff and what he's done with this program and his time here. And we knew it was going to be a difficult game if we could stay in it for as long as we could, and knowing how explosive they can be. But Jemima, Shaq, and Santi, and Josiah, guys that have been around for a long time, they made a lot of plays, especially defensively. Josiah getting on the glass, and Z does what he does. But both teams had to deal with foul trouble early in the game. We wanted to try to go inside as much as we could, but they did a terrific job of warding that off. But our older guys were the ones that the guys that have been in these type situations were the ones that really stayed in there with us and helped us at the end.
Rick, going off of that, do you feel like this win kind of displays what the program has been built on, those scrappy, hard-nosed, tough plays and not really flinching in adversity?
Well, we struggled to score, and we first half that might be the most air balls I've seen us ever shoot in a half, and but again, both teams were playing their hearts out. They were, and both teams were battling. There was a lot of individual battles going on, and as I said, Nate's schemes are terrific and really hard to guard. But our older guys have been through a lot, and they talk about it being in these type games. And from my standpoint, being on the bench, at no point in time did you see them flinch. They just kept saying, "Hey, we just got to stay in it, keep grinding," and they did that. And again, I got to give all the credit to the players and really the older guys because I thought they were terrific.
Rick, how pleased were you with the way the defense showed up in the final 14 minutes?
Well, and so many times, and you guys have watched this a lot, they feed off Jemai Meshack when he goes out there, and we didn't want Z to have to guard Mark Sears all night long, and Estrada's those guys are hard guards. They really to stay in front of them and work them, but again, we needed everybody, and we knew that again they're capable of hitting you with those bolts of lightning where they can hit you with 2, 3, 4 threes in a row, and we wanted to try to stay away from that as much as we could, and but defensively we wanted to try to stay as aggressive as we could. And the biggest thing in the second half we just talked about, we've got to get a shot. First half I thought we were probably excited, amped up a little bit because I don't see our guys miss, and they missed a couple shots really poorly, and we don't normally do that. But the fact we only had 2 turnovers in the second half was huge too.
Coach, how crucial was it to survive that first half with Jonas and Tobey both on the bench for 12-plus minutes?
Well, coming in, with this group, we knew that there was a real possibility that we would go with Joe at the 5 and Jemai, because those guys, since they've been here, they've guarded every spot on the floor, and we thought about coming in that we might get to that at some point in time. Didn't know when, didn't know it would be that early. We had worked hard, again, trying to go inside, but Nate knew that too. He had his team extremely well prepared for that, and even when we got in there, they were knocking it loose and making some plays, blocking some shots, and they were quick to the ball down there. We need to be quicker to get rid of it, but the fact is, we thought about it at some point we might go with that lineup.
Rick, Auburn went on a big run the other night. Alabama goes on a big run tonight. What is it about this team that's been able to answer those runs in the second half in big games?
Well, we tell our guys all the time it's a game of runs. We felt like we had a run left in us, and we felt like that, and we talk about it all the time, that basketball is going to be a game of runs when you're playing quality teams like we've played. In this league, every night that there's teams that can go on a run. I think they finished the last 4 minutes on a 13-2 run, and during that stretch we shot 5 threes, and we shouldn't have. We were in a position to maybe get to the free throw line, but we settled some, and some of them I could say they were open, but the fact is, give them credit because they've clawed their way back in it, and again, we just feel like it's a game of runs, and like I said, we felt like we had one left in us if we could stop them.
And that is what Rick Barnes had to say at Coleman Coliseum on Saturday night after the Vols beat the Tide. Jordan, what takeaways do you have from what the head man of the Volunteers had to say on Saturday night?
Man, first off, he was right about everything he said. Alabama ended the first half. I'm thinking that's the run that he's talking about, because they ended the half, I want to say, on a 12-0 run. I think it turned into a 13-0 run.
That sounds about right.
And that was Tennessee going in down by 2 at half. But he was right. That game last night was a game of runs, and Tennessee just so happened to be lucky enough to get the last one. But they made their own luck with getting starting that last run. Shaq sparked it.
Of course he did, man. You're right. Basketball is a game of runs at the end of the day, and Tennessee was fortunate enough to have the ball in their hands, being the one doing the running whenever the clock hit triple zeros, and just really kind of showed on that, man. One thing that kind of stood out to me as well is he thought this game would be trouble for the big guys, and he said, we're going to have to play Joe at the 5.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
That was tough having to see that in the first half, because you're like, man, just takes Tennessee out of everything that makes them so special.
Well, we had talked about that, and it was like my biggest thing was it wasn't necessarily the offense that I was worried about just with Jonas out or Tobey having to sit for a little while. I was more worried that Tennessee would go cold shooting the ball, and we wouldn't have anybody there to get those second chance easy buckets.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was worried about. And it really showed in the first half as well for Tennessee on that. I mean, you were
Yeah.
down by 2 going into halftime.
And Tennessee was leading. I mean, a 12-0 run. They were leading by 2 when that run started because we go in at halftime down 2. So either way though, man, one thing that I want to say though, he coached a phenomenal game last night. Those kids gave all of Vol Nation all they had last night too, and it was awesome to see. They
gave their
really
all.
did, and it was phenomenal to see because one of those nights. Hell, who knows, man? Dalton's back may have been hurting from carrying us for the last 2 months.
I think that's exactly what it was.
He needed a night off, but that was one thing, man. I was super proud of watching them last night because that was the best game I think the team has played as a whole. All of that. So that being said, brother, who have we got for player of the game?
Oh man, today I have went with co-player of the games for the first time ever in the history of the Volin Out podcast.
History's made.
Josiah Jordan James, Jemiah Mashak, you are co-players of the game. Wish I could have found a better picture that didn't have somebody's tag on it, but it is what it is. Literally the only picture on Google of those two men standing together.
Hey, man, you know what? Jemiah's mama follows us on Facebook or
she
Twitter.
Does. She follows me on Twitter, yeah.
We should get this to her.
We should. I'm gonna send that over to Mama Shaq. I think she'd like that, man.
And you let her know your co-host thinks her son's the best 3-point shooter on the team.
Yeah, this laptop lid's getting shut today. It's getting shut today. Mama Shaq, we love your son, but he's not the best 3-point shooter on the team in any world, unless it's Kurtz. So with that being said, man, no carton time. Who do you think I've got on here? Just take a guess.
I don't know, but I'm going to tell you who I think should be. Shoot a few 3 balls, hit a few free throws. There goes Dalton right on the carton. Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
That does. You know what's so funny on that too, man? I mean, like looking at the stats right here, it's not like he had a horrible game. There's plenty of other guys we could have picked, like Owaka, Gainey. Well, there's only 2 other guys we could have picked. But Dalton, you're supposed to score 39 a game, damn it. That's what this is about. You're supposed to score 39. You didn't score 39. Therefore, you're on the carton, bud.
One thing, though, I want to say about Dalton last night, he played as bad as the shooting numbers look and this, that, and the other. He didn't play terrible by no means.
No.
I want to say that I think Alabama, I do agree with you that Alabama probably laid the blueprint for how to beat Tennessee in March. Not everybody has the level of talent that Alabama has, for one.
True.
2, the only other thing that I think I will say as far as that goes, I feel like if you make Dalton slow down and play ball instead of just going out and getting up and down the court and not having to think about it, that's where you get him. That's where you slow him down. Him having to slow it down and think, okay, this is where I'm supposed to go with the ball, but that guy looks open. He has to think too much, and I think Alabama done a great job of making him do that. But when they brought that double team to him a few times last night, he made them pay every time. Made the right pass, made the right read, everything. So, not going to slam the kid. We've never slammed that kid on here. We don't slam any of the kids on here.
No, and we're not going to either.
No,
that's something we're never going to do. It's not going to be Jarrett Garantano, Tennessee fans to him on this show ever. I don't care if we do this for the next 50 years. It's never going to be that way.
Not with one single one of our student athletes are we going to do that with. Absolutely not.
This is a funny segment for everybody. That's all this is. Dalton, we still love you. Now, this is the one thing I'm going to say before we run to break, and then we'll come back in and we'll talk about a couple more things before we run to the second break today. If Tennessee can get everybody rolling at the same time, with that being Dalton, Sakai, Jonas, Santi, Trips, Shaq, Tobe. Watch out, man,
Yeah.
because last night you had, I mean, like, think about it, man. You had Z, Santi, Trips, Meshack. You had all those guys playing the best ball that they've played in a while last night.
Yeah.
Turn
I
that back
mean,
around. Get them going with Dalton. Get them going with Gainey. Get them going with insert player's name here. Dude,
here,
the sky's the limit.
I agree with you. Here's the thing, though. They don't have that kind of game if Dalton does Dalton things.
I don't disagree with that right there at all. But Jordan, how about we jump to break and then we'll come back in. Let's talk some SEC and a little bit of baseballs.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go spend my dollar sitting in a holler while we're on break.
Yeah, because guess what? Spent my dollar
Parked in a
on
holler.
beer. Stay tuned, guys.
This next segment is brought to you by Three Kings of Cardboard, the go-to spot to upgrade your sports memorabilia collection. Check out their Facebook group and eBay at Three Kings of Cardboard. I have dealt with them personally and will not deal with anybody else. My favorite item from them is my Jalen Wright 1-of-1 Bowman U Superfractor that they have pulled me. Check out our friends at Three Kings of Cardboard today.
All right, guys, welcome back in. Jordan, another great Saturday of basketball in the Southeastern Conference in what we like to call God's country here in the South, man. How about we take a look around the best conference in America?
Let's do it.
Man, talk about some great ball being played on Saturday in the Southeastern Conference. There's really only 3 games that I think are worth talking about today on this one. But the Florida Gators traveled to South Carolina, who is Tennessee's next opponent, man. And just a really interesting game. I mean, Florida led for a large part of the game, gave it up. South Carolina just showed, hey, we're the better team still. Kind of crazy to think on that one, man, just how that one worked out. Because if you would have told me back in January that this Florida team would be in this position right now, I would have said that you were a crackhead.
Yeah, I'd have looked at you like your head was on fire.
Yeah, like I don't even know, man, like how this Florida team has got it turned around as quickly as they have. But it is what it is, man. I mean, they are a tournament team, and it's not even a question anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, I'm telling you right now, even if they don't, I'm still going to say this. The next team we're going to talk about, that's my 4th and final seed of the SEC tournament. Florida, it don't matter where they end up, what they end up doing in the SEC tournament. That team has Elite 8 written all over it.
They are probably going to end up as the 5 seed, I would say, in Nashville. And that is way underseeded for a team that's that good. And this is the only thing I'm going to say on this. I don't want to see that Florida team in Nashville at all.
Yeah, I mean, they can get it. They're a lot like that team we played last night.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I think they can give Tennessee a lot of fits if they get the shots falling. Just that time they came to the Food City Center back in January, it just wasn't going for them for whatever reason. But up next for the Florida Gators, they take on the Alabama Crimson Tide on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Talk about a game, man. I mean, a massive game for the SEC standings right there, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Well, you and I were texting and talking today, too. This is the time of the year where the biggest game is the next game for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it is that way for everybody. I mean, more so, I think, for Tennessee than everybody else because Tennessee has more to lose, but you're right on that. I mean, every game is massive right now because there's 5 different teams still in the running that could win the Southeastern Conference.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, granted, if you're one of those, teams from, 3 in the 3, 4, 5 spot, you got to have just about anything, nothing short of a miracle. But, it could still happen. That's the best part about this time of the year.
It really is, man. All the upsets and all of that. South Carolina's next game is against Tennessee. We all know that one. We'll be bringing on our buddy Andrew from Locked On Gamecocks to talk about that game with us here shortly in the next segment. So moving on, Kentucky and Arkansas. Dude, defense was not even optional. Like, I
Oh.
don't know what's going on with this Kentucky team, man. Like, Tennessee should score 300 on them next week when they come to the Food City Center, man. Dalton should have 75. Like, they cannot play defense, dude. I don't know what's going on with them.
They're like, listen, we're going to play this game on Saturday. Leave the defense at the house. It's not optional. It's mandatory. Leave the defense at the house.
Well, you know what that's going to do, man? They are going to get their ass kicked in the first or second round of the tournament because they chose to play no defense. And
This is
like
true.
Calipari was talking about the kids too, and he was like, I've never had kids that are such gym rats as this team right now. It's like, well, hell, keep them in the gym and teach them how to play defense, bro. Like, you got to do something on this. I mean, it's just crazy. The one thing
What
that
are they
stands out
doing
for
at the
me,
gym?
yeah,
What are
I
they
think that
doing?
dunking and pulling up from three. I mean, that's all they're doing right there.
Yeah.
One thing that stands out to me on this, though, man, Zlatomir Ivicic, Big Z. He's finally starting to play ball again, man. I mean, he like played in that first game that he was declared eligible, didn't see him for like 3 weeks. And then now he's back out there playing. He's playing really well, too. Something to look at when they make the trip to the Food City Center next week. I think that might impose a little bit of a problem for the boys coached by Rick Barnes. Up next for Kentucky, they travel out here to Nashville on Wednesday to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores at 9 p.m. Arkansas hosts LSU on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
You know what? I'm going to say it right now. I think I'm going to sleep through that doubleheader right there.
I think I am too, man. I don't have any interest in watching either one of those games that are on the SEC network on Wednesday.
My sock drawer needs reorganized. I'll do it then.
Right, dude. I need to bathe the dog and clip his nails and do all that. So I think I'm just going to save it for that time because there ain't nothing to watch that day. I live in Tennessee and South Carolina.
Play 52 card pickup.
Right. Next one right here, the Auburn Tigers, another win by more than 10 points. They have not won a game all year that they have not won by 10 points. If it's under 10 points, they've lost.
Right. Yeah. Especially at home, too.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy. Like, it's crazy to think about. But up next for the Tigers, they go to Missouri and play the other Tigers. The matchup for the real Tigers. I think I'm going to, spoiler alert, Auburn wins this one massively. But maybe the 8-21 Mizzou Tigers can get something rolling right there. I don't know.
Man, we've said it all year. They're going to get somebody.
Well, they've only got 2 more opportunities to get somebody in the regular season. And
Who
who
they
knows?
got?
Maybe they'll get Vanderbilt in Nashville at the SEC tournament. I think it's pretty much locked up. They're going to play each other in that 13-14 game.
I'm not going to lie to you. That might be the best game of the tournament, son.
I'm going to be there for that one, man. I ain't missing that. You kidding me?
Scrapping.
I actually will be
under.
there for that one. Like, I ain't gonna miss that, dude. I've got tickets to every single game for the tournament. I'm not gonna miss that with it being a mile from where I live. But up next for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, they travel to College Station to visit the Texas A&M Aggies, who finally got their first win in 3 weeks on Saturday against the Georgia Bulldogs. So
of course they did, because I bet Georgia.
Oh, Georgia sucks. Anyways,
Yeah,
I would have told you not to bet him. Only player I like they got is Blue Cane, man. But SEC standings, we're starting to see some more separation. Now Tennessee controls first place all on their own, 13-3 in conference. Alabama and South Carolina are tied for second place with 12-4. South Carolina could be in first place after Wednesday night if they take care of business against Tennessee and the Gators beat up on the Tide. Next, you've got Kentucky and Auburn, both tied at 11-5. Florida is sitting on the outside looking in fifth place in 10-6. They still have an opportunity to be able to get a double bye, though.
Man, it's crazy. It's a bottleneck right there, starting at Kentucky down to Florida. Like,
oh yeah, those 3 teams right there are really close. But I mean, honestly, man, I'll say from Tennessee all the way down to Florida. I mean, you've got 6 ranked teams in the conference, which first off is great. I mean, I don't know why people are not giving the SEC enough respect nationally. Some people are, some people aren't. But man, like, look at that. Anybody could still win this conference. That's what's so crazy to me on this, because there's so many different things that could go on in this. I mean, just a lot right there. But Jordan, man, that has been our look around the SEC, brought to you by our friends at 3 Kings of Cardboard. So, the Baseballs, man. Series dub over Bowling Green. Take it away,
Buddy.
Jordo.
Let's take a trip around the diamond. Friday they got they won 11-1. Another one hitter, AJ Causey, man. 2-0 on the season. Third one hitter of the year so far.
Seriously.
The seventh one hitter since 2019.
Oh my gosh.
Kick and sling it, son. He's
my
throwing
God.
flames. Billy Amick went yard twice. Finished with 3 RBIs. Blake Burke, he finally got him. He went yard, had 3 RBIs. Dean Curley, 2 RBIs. Moore, Terrace, Draley, Payne, Backus, all 1 hit apiece. I'm not going to complain, dude. That's how you win some games right there. 1 hitter. It all started on the hill, though.
It sure did, man. I mean, Tennessee played a lot of great baseball this weekend, man, and you still have some more good games coming up. I mean, you think about it right here, man. Tennessee will play host to, I believe it is, and I don't have it pulled up right here in front of me. I think it's Kansas State this week, isn't it, man?
Yeah, they've got Kansas State coming to town this week just for 1 game. So
I wish that was a series they were giving us, man. That'd be a lot of fun right there on that one. But I mean, you still think about it, man. I mean, Tennessee still has another series on the weekend, and that one is going to be against. Do you have that information in front of you? My screen. Here we go. Illinois, and then you still have Southern Indiana on Wednesday. So you've got Tuesday and Wednesday on the diamond against Kansas State and Southern Indiana. Then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you host Illinois at Lindsey Nelson.
Hey, just keep winning, son.
Yeah. Well, man, also think about it this way, too. That is your last home series before you travel to another series against the Alabama Crimson Tide and start SEC play.
Yeah, got to get everything right. Got to get the kinks out. Then Saturday, same song and dance, buddy. 12-1 win for the Vols. Drew Beam, he's 2-0 on the season now. Had 9 strikeouts. It was another run rule game. Vols had 14 hits. Brought 11 guys around the horn. 11 RBIs. What you can't, dude. The Vols have got the bats going, son.
They really do. This team is going to be so good this year too. Now get us to SEC play. I think that's what everybody's waiting on. Not a lot of people have a lot of interest in it still. But once you get to SEC play, I think everybody and their mother is going to be going crazy over this team. I mean, and also you got to think about it too, man. The 15th, you'll be in Nashville at the SEC tournament, so you may not have a whole lot of eyes on it at that point. But as soon as March Madness is over with, man, all of our focus is going over to baseball.
Oh, no doubt. Man, and let's talk about Amick for a minute, man. Again, 3 for 3. He had 1 walk, 3 runs scored. So he scored. He came across home plate 3 times himself. 2 RBIs, 1 homer. Peebles 2 hits. Crossed home plate himself, 1 RBI. That was the second game in a row the Vols had 4 homers. 4 home runs for the 4th time this season. This season,
it just started like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen?
And then you had the score on today's game. Sound like it was another little bit.
It was another blowout on that one. So this game that happened on Sunday, March 3rd, Tennessee got the dub 16-6. This one only went 7 innings. So another run roll game for the Volunteers. Man, just another great one. You're setting attendance records left and right. You had 5,385 in attendance for this one today at Lindsey Nelson. And man, I mean, just another really good day for a lot of different players. Blake Burke is on freaking fire right now. I mean, just seriously the best player on the team, him and Billy Amick, and it's not even close.
I want to say this. If you caught the Volun Out baseball season preview, you boys called it. We called it.
We did say Billy Amick would be good. Make sure you guys go back and check out the baseball preseason preview. But Jordan, I think that's enough of Diamond Talk for the day. I have one question that I want to bring up to you since we got a little bit of time before Andrew's going to jump in the studio with us.
Okay.
So we're getting close to March Madness, man. Selection Sunday's right around the corner. And this is a Tennessee question only. This doesn't pertain to any other school, just Tennessee. Tennessee has never had a 1 seed in program history, never made it to a Final Four.
Okay.
Would you rather Tennessee get a 1 seed for the first time ever and it be on the West Coast, or take the 2 seed and play out of either Memphis or Charlotte?
I'm going to tell you right now, as fun as that 1 seed would be, give me that top. Because if we get it right, if you get a 1 seed, you're one of the bottom 1 seeds.
You go as far away. So how they set it up, just for everybody who doesn't know as well, you set it up so the first overall seed, they get the closest pick to where they live at. So Purdue should be the number 1 overall seed. They will select to play out of Detroit, Michigan. Closest to Indiana makes the most sense. You'll have UConn. They'll take the Eastern region. You have Houston. This should take the South region, which will play out of Dallas, Texas. Well, that 4th 1 seed seems to be the one that's up for grabs, and it plays out of Los Angeles, California.
No, you give me that first 2 seed, you give me that top 2 seed all day long, because chances are you get that last 1 seed, you're not getting the draw you want. You're just not.
I disagree with you on that right there. So I think it would be massive for Tennessee to get the first ever number 1 seed in program history because of what that means. It says, hey, Tennessee basketball has arrived. Tennessee basketball is on the come up. This is one of the national powerhouses in the NCAA if you have a 1 seed. Well, 2 seed, sure, that's fun. That's great. But we've done that so many times in the past. It's like, okay, maybe it's time that we take that 1 seed and we go out to California and we do that. It'll affect some fans being able to travel. Obviously, I can't travel to Los Angeles. I got too much going on in life to be able to stop what I'm doing and get out to the West Coast.
Sure.
I can get to Memphis a lot easier. I mean, hell, that's a 3-hour drive from here. Charlotte's like, what, a 4-hour drive from Knoxville? I can make that pretty easily as well. But I would rather have the 1 seed and be able to control your own bracket. And I think that means a little bit more than anything else. I don't know.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Tennessee gets the 2 seed. They're the top 2 seed. The matchup you get second round is, I'm trying to think. I'm right on point.
So right now they're projecting, if Tennessee is a 2 seed, that they would play if they're in the South region, it would be like Tennessee versus Texas Tech in the second round.
Seed-wise.
Seed-wise. So you would get, in the second round, it should be like a 7 seed.
Okay, so see, to me, that's a good point. I guess I sort of backed myself into a corner here, because if you get that 1 seed, your next, depending on that 8-9 matchup, because a lot of those 8-9 teams are really damn good, dude.
Oh, yeah.
7-10, same thing, but the 7-10 matchup, it seems like you're more likely to come across a team either that's got that 7-10 that was clinging on for dear life. Those 8-9 teams have clawed their way into that 8-9 spot.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I don't know. That's a tough one. If I'm gonna go one way or the other, though, I'm saying give me that number 1 2 seed, not the 4th number 1 seed. That's where I'm going.
I mean, I can see what you're trying to argue right here. I just think that the 4th overall 1 seed turns into being something that you've never done before. That's another feather in Rick Barnes' cap for what he's done a phenomenal job with this program doing already. You get another feather into the cap. You can say that finally. And obviously, it makes your road a little bit easier. I mean, that's what they're saying, at least when it does come to that. So I think that would be a lot of fun for Tennessee to be able to get the 1 seed. I just don't know if it's going to be able to happen or not. I mean, we'll see here in just a little bit. I mean, we're not far off from Selection Sunday, and we'll know where the Vols are playing. 2 weeks to the exact date of the time of this recording.
You know, one thing though, I'm going to argue with this on. It doesn't seem to matter if we've got a 1 seed, we make it in as a 3 seed, 4 seed, whatever. The bracket almost always has seemed to fall in exactly how we need it to. We've had to have to be favorable. Not saying that it's how we needed it to, not that we couldn't beat anybody, But like last year, for example, we were all kinds of horned up for playing FAU.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Well, and then look at where that got us. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't seem to like we're like, oh man, if this upset happens, blah blah blah. Then those upsets do happen. We go out and we take a dub.
yeah. No, I agree. Guys, in the comments, drop what you think you would rather see. Would you rather have the number one overall seed? Fourth number one seed, not number one overall. That's out of the question right now at this point. Unless three teams just dramatically collapse, which I'm here for if that happens.
Yeah.
But two, would you rather have the 2 seed and be the top 2 seed and stay close to home with either Memphis or Charlotte? Shout out to our buddy Clyde Lloyd on YouTube, who answered in on our last one. He is going with me on that, saying Tennessee is a basketball school. Clyde, love you, buddy. Thank you so much for that one right there.
Man.
But Jordan, let's jump off this one. Let's jump in with Andrew. Let's get this rolling right here. Let's talk some Vols versus Gamecocks.
Thank God you didn't say Vols versus Cox.
Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
All right, guys. If you all are anything like me and you have a hard time waking up in the morning until you get that caffeine in you, come give our friends at W a try. Each energy blend that they have created comes with no calories, no sugar, no fillers, and no artificial colors. So you go online, you go buy it, it comes to your house. It comes in a little container with powder in it. Scoop it out, drop it in your shaker, add water, shake it up, and you're good to go. It's that simple. Tastes amazing, no carbonation, no added sugars in it, so you don't get that sugar crash at the end of your energy buzz. Let me tell you guys, this stuff is amazing. My favorite flavor is Beach and Peach, which is a white mango peach, and oh boy, stuff is great. Let me just tell you. Go to w.gg on your web browser and type in promo code VOLINOUT for 10% off. VAWLINOUT for 10% off.
If you're looking for the perfect Smoky Mountain vacation, Mountain Romance is your cozy romantic getaway. Starting at $129 per night, you get 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and this beautiful cabin will sleep up to 6 people. With an amazing mountain view, fire pit, pool table, and hot tub, this place has it all and is located within minutes of downtown Gatlinburg. To inquire, go to Airbnb and search for Mountain Romance or email bearslair2021@gmail.com.
Welcome back in, guys. We have joined up with our good friend Andrew Lyon from Locked On Gamecocks and Gamecock Digest to help us break down the surprisingly massive game on Wednesday at Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, South Carolina. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Grant, I'm doing good, man. I hope you and Jordan are doing good as well. I know that the Volunteers keep on winning, and so do the Gamecocks, and it's setting up for what's going to be a really big matchup on Wednesday night because of that.
Man, you ain't even lying. That's a massive one Wednesday night. Like just huge. It's that time of the year. The next game's the biggest game.
Yeah,
1000%.
I mean, for Tennessee, we've been the next game's the biggest game for the past 2 and now I guess 3. So, Andrew, what's gone on with the Gamecocks since we saw you guys last time? I guess it was back, mid-January?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was about mid-January, maybe late January. But yeah, so South Carolina, obviously, the Tennessee win was a big one for them up in Rocky Top a little over a month ago. And then they kept on winning for the next couple of weeks. But then obviously a couple weeks ago, South Carolina, they sort of hit that rough patch. A lot of people kind of seemed to expect it was going to happen, just didn't know maybe when it would take place. And, all it took was for Auburn to get the Gamecocks at home, and it just, killed them in Neville Arena. I think that it was a 40-point deficit by the end of it. South Carolina, I mean, Lamont Paris said after the game, I don't know who the number 1 team in the NBA is, but Auburn probably could have beaten them tonight. Like, they just shot the lights out. So, give credit to Auburn for that game. And then LSU, that one was just a stinker, to be honest with you. And that's not to take anything away from LSU. They're doing a decent job in year 2 under Matt McMahon over there, but that was a game South Carolina had no business losing. I mean, they had a 16-point lead at one point in the second half and just bogged down offensively. Their decision-making just dropped off a cliff. Jordan Wright for the Tigers continued to drive to the basket, was drawing a lot of fouls, and kept giving the Gamecocks defense a little bit of trouble. And, it just all culminated into just a array of errors over the past couple of minutes, or I should say last couple of minutes. And so it wound up being a 2-game losing streak for the first time all season for South Carolina, but they've bounced back nicely the past couple games. good win over Ole Miss, a team that's been a bit tougher to beat in their arena this year. And then a solid win over Texas A&M, one of the few teams in this conference that probably doesn't mind playing the way that South Carolina likes to play, offensively speaking, in terms of their pace. And then the Florida game, a really impressive win because South Carolina, for a little bit in that game, it looked like that they were going to drop it. I mean, Florida, they were in full control of the flow of the game, but South Carolina, they found a way to come back. And it's kind of been the exact opposite of what we saw from the LSU game. They've been very resilient over the past 3 outings. And so now it's set up for South Carolina to have a shot to potentially earn a share. Who knows, if things are chaotic enough, maybe outright the SEC championship, which for a team that's projected to finish last in the preseason is just wild to think about.
Well, back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, Tennessee was picked to finish 13th in the league and got a share of the title. And we've been on an upward trajectory ever since. And I've said the same thing on this show before. I love the South Carolina team. I think Lamont Paris has done a great job. Michie Johnson, Zach Davis, who's the other guy? Colin Murray Boyles. Great players, great team. I want to see more of them. I just don't want them to play Tennessee anymore.
I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be a fun one Wednesday night. It's huge because the winner of this game more than likely is going to win the SEC regular season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Everybody else behind us has 2 losses. Winner of this game clinches at least a share.
Yeah, and you think about Alabama, they got to play Florida, and Florida obviously ain't too happy after they just took that loss in Columbia. So I would probably say Bama's going to lose that game, at least if I had to predict. And so, yeah, I think the Tennessee-South Carolina game, that's the game everybody's going to be watching the midweek slate this week in the conference.
Yeah, man, who would have ever thought that this would be the game right here that we're talking about, on March 6th. So let's talk about a little bit what we should expect in this game. Matchup Predictor is giving Tennessee currently a 76.8% chance to win the game at this time of the recording. I've been on here and I've said it time and time again. I don't think Tennessee can win this game. I think the South Carolina is a matchup nightmare for Tennessee. Tennessee likes to play physical until it happens to them. Tennessee gets punched in the mouth. How do they respond? What are you kind of expecting to happen in this one, Andrew? And what can we kind of expect for, the SEC race in general?
Yeah, well, Grant, you just kind of alluded to it, so I'll go ahead and carry on into the theme. In terms of the matchup itself, Tennessee is one of the rare teams, I think, in the SEC and quite frankly, college basketball this year at the top where, they are willing to be physical, but they also don't mind, getting into a track meet and running the floor offensively speaking. But for Tennessee, it seems like that their worst matchups this season have come against teams that are going to slow the pace down to a crawl, going to play in the half court. Mississippi State on the road, Texas A&M to a certain degree on the road, and South Carolina at home. And if you're a Gamecock fan, you got to feel confident because this one's in your backyard. Tennessee, if you want to win the SEC regular season title, you got to do it in enemy territory. And South Carolina, you may have seen the Florida game this past weekend, and it probably sounded really loud just from the television screen. I was there in person. Y'all, it's the last I've ever heard that arena for a men's basketball game in a very, very long time. And so South Carolina fans, they're going to pack the CLA. It goes about 18,000 strong in terms of its capacity. And I know, obviously, Tennessee's played in plenty of hostile environments, and they've played in plenty of big games. But in terms of the matchup, I think that this is going to be a game that South Carolina has got to like. But also, if you're Tennessee, I think that, you got to feel confident yourself because you've been in this spot before with Rick Barnes, and you've got a ton of experience in your own right, and you've probably got the best overall offensive player between both sides in Dalton Connect. And so I think that nobody's going to win this game easily. I think whoever gets this game, they're going to have to earn it without question. But, I'd be lying if I said that South Carolina, shouldn't feel confident.
Absolutely, man. Let's put a B between your first and last name. Andrew B. Lyon. I'm just kidding. No, man, this is gonna be a good one. Speaking of you were talking about attendance. South Carolina spring break starts this week over there, don't it?
It does.
I seen somebody on one of the forums I cruise talking about it may not be packed out, blah 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 blah. you guys are going to pack that place out. I know you should. It's the biggest game of the year.
And there's a lot of students that are still going to be on campus too, I'm sure. Or they're going to
Yeah.
be in
Oh, yeah.
Charleston or, Myrtle Beach or something. They're going to drive right back over for this, as they should at least. But that's an early spring break.
Yeah, it is. The calendar was always wonky whenever I was a student there a couple of years back. But yeah, to Jordan's point, I can promise y'all that arena is going to be. I would say this is probably the biggest men's basketball game for South Carolina that they have had in several years. I mean, probably since honestly the tournament run that they went on back in 2017. This one's probably the biggest one since that time frame.
Oh, wow.
No doubt. No, I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, because you guys kind of went quiet there for a little while on the men's basketball side of things. Women's basketball has been rolling, but men's basketball, man. But man, it's just it seems like for the last 2 or 3 years, man, it don't matter. It don't matter the sport. Whatever we're getting together in, it matters.
Yeah, for sure. There's always something, whether it's maybe you don't like the opposing coach or, in this case, there's a championship on the line. It's South Carolina, Tennessee in various sports. It's become a lot more of an intriguing, almost a rivalry in a sense in this conference over the past couple of years. No doubt about it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'll tell you where it started with that man in the picture behind you right there.
It sure did. I mean, gosh, I remember being, a little boy and he's at Florida. Then he goes and takes a job with now the Washington Commanders, but the Washington Redskins back then. He comes back and he goes to South Carolina. I'm like, oh man, now South Carolina's going to be good. Florida's good. Georgia's good. We got to play Alabama every year. Then that man starts it. And then ever since then, South Carolina's been, one of the bigger games on the schedule for Tennessee. I think you guys have been for most of the conference in every single sport, honestly.
Yeah. Your baseball team's good too. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Life in the SEC is better than ever the conference. There ain't no doubt about that.
It just means more.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. It just means more, right?
Yeah.
And that was not a paid endorsement.
No, but if they want to pay us, they can. Well, all three of us will take that right there. So we'll take that SEC TV money. So Andrew, on this right here, Tennessee's on a 6-game win streak right now. Last loss was to Texas A&M on February 10th. South Carolina's last loss was to LSU on February the 17th. How do you think South Carolina finishes out the season? I know you guys have the big matchup against Tennessee on Wednesday, and then you have one more game against Mississippi State on the road on Saturday. What can you kind of expect? It looks like this will be your all-senior night as well on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, it's going to be – that's a great point right there too, Grant. It's going to be a very big night in terms of there's going to be a lot of guys that are on this team right now that won't be here next year. And so that's just another, some people might look at it as pressure, but others might look at it as, there's going to be extra motivation for South Carolina. Like, hey, this is the last home game that this group of guys will ever play in front of this crowd. Let's send them out winners. I truly do think South Carolina can beat Tennessee. If we want to say the prediction part for the end, I won't quite go there yet. As far as Mississippi State goes, Mississippi State, like I mentioned earlier, one of the few teams that they are fine with playing the half court. If you want to slow things down, we're totally okay with that. They've got Tolu Smith in the front court. Hubbard's one of my favorite players to watch outside of South Carolina. That kid is unreal. How on earth Mississippi State? I guess he was going to go to Ole Miss. Then they fired Kermit Davis, and then he went to Mississippi State. But he's a fun player to watch. That's going to be a tough game for South Carolina. It would not surprise me if that game went either way. But you talk about the tournament. I think the important part for Carolina is, can you get that double bye? Like Tennessee, I think pretty much you're going to be fine. You might get against South Carolina, but you also get Kentucky afterwards. And I think Volunteer fans, kind of for the same reasons, you probably feel confident you'll get Kentucky no matter what happens at the end of the year. So, both teams, they're trying to make sure they get that top 4 seed. And for South Carolina, with the way that they play, I think that they kind of need it because they lean more on the physicality side and playing good defense and having like more of an 8-man rotation. So double bye is very important for the Gamecocks. If they can get that, I could see them getting at least a win in the SEC tournament. So either way, I see 2, maybe 3 wins to end the season before they get to the NCAA tournament.
I agree with you on that right there, man. Who's your pick for SEC Player of the Year? Is it Dalton Knecht?
I'll go Dalton Knecht. Yeah, I'll go Dalton. Because he could score in a variety of ways. I feel like that Sears for Alabama, as good as he is, I think that you pretty much know how he's going to attack you each and every time. Dalton Connect, he can literally score from anywhere on the floor, and I value that in terms of the skill aspect of it. So even if Sears has him from a statistical standpoint, with what Dalton Connect has done, and not to mention the fact his first year and what will be his only year in the SEC, he didn't even have the advantage of knowing all these guys like Sears did going into this year, and he's doing what he's doing. It's incredible what Dalton Connect has done, and whoever gets him in the NBA, they've got a high-level score that's going to make them a lot better offensively.
I like it. That's a good analysis right there. It really is. That's solid, man.
Yeah, we can tell Andrew writes about it. So you'll have to write an article on Dalton Connect for us, man. So where do you think South Carolina finishes in the SEC race? I mean, only 2 games left. I know you guys are pushing for the double bye, but with your opinion, where do you see South Carolina finishing up? And what seed do you think they have in Nashville?
Oh, man. Okay, so I said earlier, I believe, I think Bama's going to lose to Florida. So I think that will make it where South Carolina's basically second and Tennessee is first. I think Carolina gets Tennessee. That ties up both teams. I think that both teams eke it out, and I think Tennessee and Carolina both share the championship at the end of the regular season. So I think that Carolina gets the 1 seed, and you can call me biased as much as you want, but I just think that South Carolina, people look at the net rankings, they look at KenPom, and they say, well, South Carolina's like 42nd, they're 46th. ESPN doesn't give them really any chance to beat Tennessee on Wednesday night. I think at this point, it's just time to throw the computers out with South Carolina. I mean, they've proven it at this point. Again, they've had a couple of slip-ups against Georgia and LSU, but, they've proven they can win these games. They can beat a Tennessee. They can beat a Mississippi State on the road. It's going to be a tough game, no question about it, but I just love the amount of guys that this team can lean on. Like Tennessee's got Dalton Connect, and you've got some really good pieces around him as well. But South Carolina, it kind of feels like that they get a bit disrespected because they don't have that one dude, maybe outside of Michi every once in a while on a national broadcast that gets pointed out to everybody. But that's because South Carolina can lean on everyone in their starting lineup. Colin Murray Boyles, he's exploded since I last chatted with y'all on this show. BJ Mack, he can go off for 15, 18 whenever he wants to. Michi Johnson goes for about 20 in the second half against Florida and basically wills South Carolina back into that game by himself. And Taylon Cooper, he can hit big shots when he needs to. There's so many guys that this team can rely on in big moments. And I think that's why South Carolina is such a dangerous team outside of what they do defensively.
Yeah, another good point. I mean, you guys play good team basketball. That's what you're getting at.
Yes,
Tennessee,
exactly.
Tennessee has had to rely on Connect to bail us out more times than once. But now the flip side of that, I'm gonna argue that with this. Last night was one of those games where everybody contributed. We had to have it, and Tennessee found a way to win. And that's promising going down the stretch because Grant and I talked about it earlier. Bama laid the blueprint last night. You take Dalton out and you make everybody everybody else beat you. You got a good shot. But last night they stepped up on the road, and I'm thankful they did because that made this episode tonight so much more fathomable because I know what kind of mood Grant would be in.
Oh, yeah, I can't stand losing to Alabama. I want to smoke a cigar and sing Dixieland Delight. For the Bama fans who are maybe still tuned in, it's a song about the state of Tennessee, but we'll get into that a different time. So, Andrew, give us your score prediction for Wednesday night. Who do you see winning? What's the final score?
For Wednesday night, I'll go South Carolina 74, Tennessee 69. I think that South Carolina is going to play good enough team basketball. They're going to swing the ball around the perimeter. They're going to try to see if Tennessee is going to be willing to play half-court offense again for a full 40 minutes. Zakai Ziegler, I think that he's going to be the biggest X factor in this game for Tennessee. Last time, to be quite frank, I don't think he did a whole lot of anything. He's going to have to be a bigger factor in this matchup. I think if the Volunteers want to win this game. But I just think the Gamecocks have enough 1 through 5 in their starting lineup, the guys that they can lean on that can make big shots. And you throw in home court advantage and everything that's riding on this game. I think that South Carolina finds a way to get it done. I think it's going to be a good back and forth matchup here. But I think that the Gamecocks pull it out at the end.
Fair
Jordan,
enough.
what do you got for us?
Man, okay, so I was looking today. Tennessee wins when they score more than 75. Plain and simple. You win more than 75, you should. Looks like to me, from just kind of what I was looking at, Carolina, if you can hold them under 65, you're in good shape. I'm going to say Tennessee wins 75-64. But it's what we pull away late. We have to hit free throws late. And that's something that, unless it's anybody other than Zakai Ziegler, we seem to have an issue with. So, that's where I'm going. And the reason I'm going with that is your boy here has said Tennessee's going to win out for 2 weeks now. Grant,
He has.
I have.
You can't jump off the wagon now, Jordan. You can't jump off of it. And I'm from the opposite side. I'm telling you, you got to stick with it then.
That's right, buddy. You jump in both feet first, you better ride it out. And that's what I'm doing. So give me 74-63, whatever it was I said just a minute ago. I'll take it.
Well, on mine right here, guys, I mean, looking at the stats from the last game, Tennessee only had 2 players in double figures. That was Dalton Connect with 31. A lot of his came in garbage time right at the very end to make it a lot more interesting than what it was. And Santiago Vescovi had 10 points. In that game also, Tennessee shot 36.2% from the field and 23.8% from 3, 60% from the line. This is just a bad matchup for Tennessee on this. It depends on how Tennessee's defense can go. Can you slow down BJ Mack, Talon Cooper, and Michi Johnson? If you can, I like Tennessee's chances, but I've been on record saying I don't like Tennessee's chances in this game. I'm going to give the win to South Carolina on this one. I think it's a close game either which way. I think it's probably about a 4-point game. Let's say, I mean, the last one was 63-59. Good Lord. That's ugly basketball. Ugly basketball. I think we're probably in store for something similar to that. Probably 71 South Carolina. Let's say 67 Tennessee. It just depends. How can Tennessee play? Are the bigs able to get it going? Can Zakai keep on rolling? I mean, Zakai only had 2 points the last time we saw you guys. So I think Zakai is going to be the X factor for Tennessee. Dalton's going to get his as long as you guys don't go with the Alabama blueprint. So hopefully you don't. And it's something that Tennessee can be on the winning side of, because if Tennessee does win this game, Tennessee has the 1 seed for the SEC tournament in Nashville the following week. So fun one on Wednesday. This one will be tipping off. Let's see. What time is that one at? It is 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. So make sure you guys check that one out. But Andrew, this has been fun. Where can our viewers and listeners find you at once again?
Yeah, Grant and Jordan, thanks for having me on once again. If you are interested in following any of my work, you can go and check out the Locked On Gamecocks podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcasts daily. You can also find my written work over on Gamecock Digest on Fan Nation, which is in the Sports Illustrated umbrella. So although it wasn't a very good little segue into that, be sure to check all of that out if you want to see maybe some of what I'm saying about this matchup later on this week.
There we go. Man. Guys, like, rate, and subscribe on Gamecock, Locked On Gamecocks, and check out Gamecock Digest, where Andrew has been doing some work. But Andrew, we're going to end the show as we always do. You're welcome to do your own version of it as well. But go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Gamecocks, baby.
This episode of the Ballin' Out podcast has been brought to you by our friends at Peace of Mind Enterprises. From construction, home remodel, down to general handyman services, Peace of Mind has you covered.
All technicians are licensed and insured, servicing East Tennessee with 30-plus years of experience. Call 865-202-7167 for a free estimate, because nothing beats having peace of mind.